You are listening to The Power Play Hockey Talk Radio here on KCFS 94.5 FM.
Well, great news this morning. We found out that Jason Pominville signed a 5-year extension with the Minnesota Wild today.
Yeah. You know, I think that was a very good signing there by Chuck Fletcher. It was something that needed to be done, and it's something that really has been worrying a lot of Wild fans because we gave up. Okay, quite frankly, we gave up a boatload for him.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
Buffalo used the first-round pick that we gave them to take the hulking Nikita Zadorov, a 6'5" Russian defenseman that has been playing the past few seasons for the London Knights of the Ontario Hockey League. Big kid, big shot, big physical presence, just a stud. And when you think about who we could have drafted, you know, what we could have gotten with that pick,
Sure.
it's hard to stomach. And then you think of a guy that can be a potential captain in Johan Larsson,
Yeah.
a potential franchise starting goalie in Matt Hackett,
Yeah.
and who knows who they'll take with our second-round pick next year,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So that was a lot to give up for what could have only been a rental player.
Sure.
But to have him sign a 5-year extension,
Yep.
that makes it all worth it.
Yep. You bet.
And you know that's part of the reason why they wanted to sign him so bad was they wanted him there to get Thomas Vanek.
I think so too. I really think that you're going to see some interesting things happen here. You know, Pominville and Vanek have such a tight relationship there, and signing Pominville for another 5 years there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
The question I've got is where do these youngsters fit? You know, Pominville is going to be a fixture on that top line there with Parise and Koivu.
Right.
I don't think you can change that top line for another 3 years yet. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's cemented as the top line for the next 3 years.
Right.
But who comes in after them? Who slots in on that second line? If we get Vanek, and we know Heatley's gone after this year. He is gone after this year, no matter how good of a performance he has. And really, we should expect a really good performance from him this year because he is in a contract year.
Right.
And he knows that if it wasn't for his injury, it would have been him, not Tom Gilbert, that was bought out by the Minnesota Wild.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot to prove. He's got a lot to play for, and I think people are saying that he says he doesn't expect anything less than 30 goals from him this year. That's what Heatley says.
Of himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And imagine who he's playing with.
Oh yeah.
Charlie Coyle, Nino Niederreiter. But the thing to look at is who's behind them. You have Mikhail Granlund, you have Jason Zucker, you have Zach Phillips and Brett Bulmer that are down in Iowa. You know, Bulmer I don't think is going to be a top 6 player. But he's a guy who could slot in. He could be the next Clutterbuck, you know, a bigger Clutterbuck.
Right.
You know, he's a guy that can fit in that grinding role on the third or fourth line. Zach Phillips, though, he's really a top 6 or bust playmaker, you know. Same thing with Granlund. I don't see him staying on that third line very long unless Yo has something in mind akin to the 1980s Edmonton Oilers days of Wayne Gretzky with Marty McSorley and Dave Semenko. You know, it worked for them. And granted, Granlund isn't nearly as talented as Wayne Gretzky, you know, but having Kyle Brodziak and Matt Cook on the same line as Granlund gives him room. Their physicality and just their veteran NHL presence. I think it gives Granlund some room because, you know, Matt Cook's a guy that'll go out and just lay hits. You know, he'll go out and make sure the game's being played the right way and that Granlund isn't being targeted like McKinnon was. You know?
Yeah.
And so that could very well be the reason why Granlund was paired with that line, because I mean he can provide some offense. His assisting, you know, he'll probably set up Cook and Brodziak for some good goals this year.
Right.
So it does help provide secondary scoring, and I don't think they really wanted. I mean, he was better than Jason Zucker in camp, Granlund wasn't a defensive liability whatsoever. And I think that's why they sent Zucker back down, is Zucker has to work on his defensive game. He has to be able to play both sides of the puck. And, I know this really isn't an indicator at all, but if if you play NHL 14, it doesn't say sniper, it doesn't say playmaker. For Zucker, it says two-way forward.
Right.
And really, they have it right. Zucker is a two-way forward, or that's what he was drafted to be.
Right.
Now, granted, he's come out as a guy that, well, let's face it, he hasn't filled the XL Energy Center with that much electrifying scoring ability. Well, there hasn't been that much since Gaborik left,
Mm-hmm.
And Zucker is a guy that provides that. But he just needs this time to kind of develop and work on that defensive side of the game down in Iowa,
Right.
And I think he will. I think he'll finish the season in Minnesota. And with how close Des Moines and St. Paul are,
Mm-hmm.
and how many young kids they have on two-way contracts that don't have to go through waivers,
Right.
you're going to be seeing a lot of guys going back and forth. You could see Granlund see some time in Des Moines. You could even see Nino Niederreiter going down. You could see guys like Eric Howla, Zach Phillips, Jason Zucker going up. So there's going to be a lot of shuffling back and forth there, probably until December when they think they finally have their lineup,
You bet.
So, yes, Zucker's not playing, yes, he's down in Iowa, but that doesn't mean he hasn't made the team.
Right.
Nor does it mean that he should be comfortable, It doesn't mean that the players that are currently on Minnesota's roster should be comfortable, because, let's face it, I'd be scared if I knew there was a kid like Zucker down in Des Moines waiting to take my job,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The kid's got scoring ability. He's dynamic. He just needs to work a little bit on the defensive side of his game. Once he figures that out, it's going to be dangerous.
You bet.
But then the question is, where does he fit, though, in the long term? If you get Vanek,
Yeah.
if you have that top line of Parise, Koivu, Pominville, if you have Vanek there, Vanek will be on the second line. If he doesn't bump one of the two wingers there, Parise or Pominville, if he doesn't bump them for a first line position,
Right.
So either way, one of those four will be on the second line, and you've got four guys battling for two top six spots.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting to see. I can't help but think that there's going to be a trade.
Yeah.
You have you have Niederreiter, you have Granlund, you have Coyle, you have Zucker. I just can't see two of those guys unless maybe it's Zucker. I don't know. I just don't know. I just don't see them staying for good on the third line. Unless it's a Detroit Red Wings. And that's one of the things I really was interested in when I was watching the Detroit Red Wings. They're such a finesse team. They're one of the oldest teams in the NHL as far as average age on the team. They're one of the oldest. But it's not that they're old. They're classics. They're a puck possession team. Their system has been working for 22 years. There's no reason why it shouldn't work for a 23rd. I see Minnesota has the potential to do that. And that's the thing. They're not a team that's defined by two scoring lines, two grinding/energy lines. They're a team that can roll all four lines at will. Same with Chicago. Chicago's just a little more dynamic. But there's something about Detroit's hockey team that just screams Red Army. It just screams Soviet. I don't even know how. That's what I thought last night. Buffalo just did not have it, and Detroit just looked as good as they always have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Mike Yeo and Chuck Fletcher are working on with these Minnesota Wild players. That's what they're wanting. That's what they're doing, and I think we've got a team that I think they're talented enough. I think if they're going to keep all those youngsters, obviously they're going to trade away some guys. But if they're going to keep guys like Granlund, Coyle, Zucker, and Niederreiter for the long term, or at least for the next 5 years, the team itself is going to have to transform into that Red Wings all four lines finesse team, And that's the thing. Minnesota has been a team for so long that it's just been known for a bunch of grinders playing a grinding game.
Right.
We have skilled guys. We have the most talented roster we've ever had. It is time that the team's game adapts to that, that we go from dump and chase to puck possession, to dominating the game, to dictating the game. I think they can do it, and I think it all starts this season. We're going to take a short break. You are listening to the Power Play Hockey Talk Radio here on KCFS 94.5 FM. We'll be wrapping up the show here with our last segment coming up shortly.
NHL Network, don't panic. Your show prep will continue after this break.